Nevertheless, the song worked a certain magic on him. Its lulling chant awakened in his imagination the deeds of ancient days, and a vivid image of clashing armies swam before him. Blood ran and thousands died. A kingdom ended, another began. With her clear voice, Urd sang the haunting song, as it brought to Dayraven's mind the endless generations of old. He wondered how many kingdoms of the world had come and gone like Rio Dara. He wondered if, 500 years from his time, people would remember songs to the mark. We're all of us like them, it's all one story. But what will be my part in it now? A man without a home has no people to remember him, no kin to protect him. Expect cheating in battle, said Norn. Men hacking at each other and screaming and dying. It's no tale of valor and prowess for children. Blood and guts and shit. No rules and few die with glory. At first, they'll hate us, no doubt, but when they learn of Edan's mercy, they'll see us as their deliverers. They'll know we made open the path to salvation, the only way to the kingdom of Edan, the giver of life. That's why your hearts must be harder, your arms the stronger, your resolve the firmer. You strike for Torlond, you strike for Edan, and you strike even for the welfare of those whom you will defeat. And the sign of our righteousness will go with us, for you will see Edan manifested through his servants, the priests of the Way, led by the supreme priest who has no equal in his mastery of magical arts. You'll see wonders not witnessed in all the ages of man, sure signs that Edan is with us. Through the vessel of his priests Edan will show he goes with us in the struggle, and in our victory will be the sign of his power. You may thus go with Edan's strength in you, confident. He guides your hand and your sword. We fight not just for this world or the kingdoms of men, but for the kingdoms of the eternal. We cannot fail, and our enemies will join us in the ranks of the eternal or perish, as all unbelievers must. Yes, those who refuse Edan's call will perish, but some will see the path of salvation. The scales will fall off their eyes, and they'll bathe in the light that only the eternal can know. Blessed be the eternal. All right, what's up, fantasy fans? As always, I'm Shay from the channel Zachary Shay, and today I'm going to be talking about a book that I am really thrilled about, and that is The Way of Edan by fellow booktuber Philip Chase. Been a fan of his channel for a while, where he brings us the best of fantasy, and I remember when his videos first started coming out, I must have been 19 or 20, and I just always loved the way he talked about fantasy and just his appreciation for the history of the genre. And let me tell you that is on full display here in The Way of Edan. I heard a lot of comparisons from like Ed and Will from the Brothers Gwyn, amazing channel, love those dudes, that this was similar in vein to Tolkien. And I do believe Philip Chase's passion for linguistics and for language, it very much harkens to Tolkien. And I believe his extensive world building is very similar to Tolkien. But his actual prose style, I feel like, is a lot more accessible than Tolkien while still having that archaic feel to it. But then it does surprise you when you get an F-bomb a time or two. But yeah, so I went into this not really knowing a lot. I loved my Broken Binding edition with these very like classical looking covers, but immediately, this is light spoilers, and then I'm going to get into a spoiler section, and it'll be somewhere on the screen. I'll announce it whenever I'm getting into spoilers. But I was really surprised by this book because going in, I was like, okay, classical fantasy, the Brothers Gwyn compared it to Tolkien. And then I got through the prologue and I was like, okay, like I knew it was adult, but I was kind of picturing like Bound in the Broken Ryan Cahill adult, where it's like A Fire and Blood is adult, but it's not like dark. No, within the first prologue, I was like, really? Like, cheerful, like kind-hearted Dr. Chase is really, it was just darker than I was expecting. And then we get introduced to our main protagonists, and if you've followed my channel, you know my biggest things are well-written dialogue, well-written prose, and well-written characters. So you can probably tell by how excited I am to talk about this that it did well in all of those. Of the three, probably dialogue was the least standout, but every bit of dialogue was well done. It all felt like something that these young boys would be saying, or that these characters would be saying. No line in the entire book ever felt out of place. But I'm just saying, compared to his prose and his characters, these are like the trifecta of me, right? Like what I enjoy out of a book. And he was able to deliver on all three. But his character work, I thought, was subtle until later in the book, you start getting more perspective changes and you realize how well he understands each of his characters. I'm going to come out the gate and say Imhar, the bondsman, Dayraven's, brother-like character, older brother, surrogate. Best character in the book. Absolutely blew me away. I enjoyed him so much. Definitely my favorite of the good guys. But there were also a ton of standouts. Norn and Halak, Orvindil. Like, I just feel like I'm not going to get into spoilers. But okay, so thematically, what this book did really cool is you can tell from the way the men of the mark go on their hunt and in the way it's described that Philip Chase is kind of doing his spin on like the tale of Beowulf and like other classics, ancient classics. But what's interesting about this is, Beowulf is a story that kind of glorifies violence. Even Tolkien, in a way, while violence is not romanticized in Tolkien, it is like to defend others, violence is a tool of the righteous. Whereas Philip Chase really takes a look at the cost of violence, and he is basically making you do a study in empathy. And it's very thought-provoking in its view on nationalism and these lines we draw on the globe. It's interesting in its thoughts on religion. One thing I thought was really interesting was the way that the religion in here, Edan, the Way of Edan, the way their monotheism works was really interesting because they take the other deities that other religions believe in and say that those were virtuous people and virtuous prophets from Edan. But then, because right now they're telling the people, you were right to believe in those gods. You were right. They existed. But now those gods have been, the people that you thought of as gods, these virtuous beings, are gone now, and they're replaced by demons that are trying to steal you away from the Way of Edan. And I thought it was a very interesting and believable. I don't know if that's based off of our own history, if that's something a monotheistic religion has done to kind of change and convert polytheistics, or different pagan beliefs. But I thought it was genius the way it worked. I just want to take a second to talk about the villains. So Supreme Leader Bloodla, or Supreme Priest Bloodla, was definitely a character that I thought of as like a crafty manipulator, but I don't want to go into too many spoilers because there will be a spoiler section. He really is the kind of person that walks the talk he talks, so he's a lot more nuanced than the like mustache twirling stereotypical evil priest wizard type character. Some other characters of note before I get into spoiler section. Esquara, I did enjoy her. She's one that I feel like I'll need some more of in book 2. Both the Duerg brothers were phenomenal. Erd, I thought, was really funny. In some scenes, I really enjoyed her character. And what was the Shaper's name? Brond. I really enjoyed Brond as well. And I think I will enjoy him more going forward. But hands down, favorite character has got to be Imhar, or Imar. Followed closely by Dayraven. And their whole little brotherhood fellowship thing going on was really interesting to follow. And I'm having a hard time talking about this without getting into spoilers. So, all right. So I'm going to get into spoilers for this bad boy. I thought some scenes that really stood out to me. So in chapter 3, I think, which was the hunt, where we show Dayraven first encounter the elf, I thought that was really interesting, the way the scenery was described in such vivid detail, and then all of a sudden it said so simply, it said he saw the elf. We hadn't gotten mention of an elf yet, at least I don't think so. And then all of a sudden he sees an elf. We get some cool stream of consciousness stuff. And the next chapter, Dayraven is dead. I was not expecting that at all. I knew from the way people talked about the series that he wasn't actually dead, but I thought that was really interesting. One part that I really loved that actually brought a chuckle out of me was after Dayraven has been exiled and he is like, oh, I know what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to fight for Torlond. And he was taking like what Philip Chase was doing was he was showing like a child view of warfare and the world, and saying like, what would a child that has just been, cast off from their home, what would they think is the noble, righteous thing to do? And like, I feel like you could just hear the music behind him as he's like, we will, conquer those terrible Cargillians and find Imar's sister, and we will return home. And I just love how Erd goes, no, just simply N-O period, no. And they were like, what? And she's like, no, you're not. No, that's not what we're doing. And I thought that was pretty funny. And then she had to kind of stir them, march them along the right path. And so that was really good. Other scenes that stood out for me was really the last two chapters I thought were next level phenomenal. Not to say like I really enjoyed the beginning, I really enjoyed the end. I would say like the first 100 pages were 5 stars and the last 100 pages were 5 stars. Whereas in between, I'm not saying like the in between was not as good, but I would give it probably more like a 4.5. So overall, this thing, if we're going off of averages, this is a 5-star book. I know it seems like I give a lot of 5 stars out, but that's only because I only cover the books that I really enjoy. And those last 100 pages were so damn good. The way he was swapping between so many perspectives, some of which were characters we were not, extremely familiar with, like the King of Cargillion, and was still able to give, their scenes of these characters. We're only getting a few paragraphs from their perspective. The way Philip Chase was able to breathe life into those characters, and really the character of Imar, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. IMHAR. Anyway, that character is really like had me fist bumping in this last battle of the book. It was so good. I'm really scared for him moving forward because I'm pretty sure Bledla has dragons. And I don't like that Bledla has dragons and is about to descend on Imhar's people. And if you kill him in book 2, Philip, I'm going to be very upset. I won't stop reading the books because I'm very intrigued in the world and I want to see how this turns out. But and I love the characters, I love the plot, but I think Philip Chase is a writer that had theme in mind in a similar vein to Steven Erikson, Like I feel like he is really telling us about the cost of violence, and I think no scene better conveys this to the reader than when Dayraven has the elf shard presence and he kills a man in battle, and it shows that man not going home to his children. Dayraven is able to see not see, as Sequara, states, you're not seeing these things, but he's able to feel this man's life and know that he's not coming home to his 3-year-old and his 6-year-old, and he will never feel his wife's touch, his loving touch again, or her loving touch again. And I think Philip Chase is trying to show that, what is it, that John Donne poem where it's like, ponder not who the bell for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. Like any death should be treated as a death unto your people. Like in any loss of life should be counted as a loss. Whether they're your ally or your enemy, any loss of human life should be viewed by you as a human being as a loss. And one of the big themes of this book is this sense of oneness, this sense of we are all of the world and existing of the world, and we are all one people. And that's another thing in the lore that Norn and Dayraven talk about. You find out so many ways in which Kergillion comes from Torlon, and Torlon comes from the east, and how the Mark is also descended from Torlon. And you really find out that we Pangea in this, like everybody's really from the same peoples. And I don't know. I think that also contributed to the theme of oneness with the world, with nature, with your fellow man, and the way that the magic is explored too. It feels almost, Buddhist in that it is about reaching enlightenment and oneness with the world, and I don't know. I thought the magic was really good, and it perfectly worked with the themes. That is the one thing I will say about this book is the characters, the magic system, and the world building all serve to enhance the themes. And it was just a really good book. I enjoyed The Way of Edan. I will give it 5 stars, and I am very excited to read The Prophet of Edan. I probably will not wait for the Broken Binding to make an edition, and I'll probably just go ahead and read the paperbacks. I will say one thing that I am not Petrick. I am not, doing art design on these books, and I believe this special edition is absolutely amazing. 99 out of 100, but would have made it 100 out of 100. What I thought would have been cool, which somebody smarter than me probably thought of this in the production of this book, and there's a reason it didn't happen. But what I thought would be cool is the original painted glass aesthetic artwork of his Philip Chase's original covers. If they could have had that as an interior artwork for this book, just like maybe on like right past the title page, that would have been really cool. And kind of, I don't know, it would have felt like, I don't know, I just thought that would have been cool. Yeah, peace.